Welcome to the Culture of Writing podcast, where writers, editors, and content strategists from Salesforce talk about how we work together to improve our craft and make content
Never say
better.
never, right?
Never say never. Good point. Good starting point. So this is really interesting. I just set the table. We are doing these, the importance of adding the why, the WHY to your technical documentation. We're doing seminar workshops. And Samartha shared this really intriguing example at one of the workshops. We do a seminar and then we do a workshop, and the workshop is live and we do not record them, so everybody can talk freely. But I thought this might be a good kind of lunch and learn session. So I'll turn it over to you, Samartha, and thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Stan. My pleasure. Speaking of the why, right? So I lead Commerce Cloud. I lead the India team for Commerce Cloud CX, and we have this developers guide called the B2B Commerce and D2C Commerce Developers Guide, and it has a lot of data models, a lot of APIs, a lot of good content actually. It has, it talks about payloads, talks about APIs, talks about data models, personas, and a lot of technical stuff around how developers can implement that. What we thought was missing, and we felt that for a long time, was a really good why section. Why should customers use it? Why should they really do all the stuff that is explained in this guide? And what does it really help them achieve, right? And how do they integrate the different programmatic entities in this guide and build something in real life for their companies? So that's where we started, and we have known of this gap for a bit. So we knew of the gap. We were always short pressed for time, so we thought we would use Gen AI to really accelerate this exercise, right? And I had just joined the Writer.ai pilot, so I was part of that. And then I worked with Shailendra on my team. Shailendra is a DevDocs writer on our team, a lead DevDocs writer. And we sort of, took a stab at doing things. And we wrote a prompt. This is the third version of the prompt, not really the first one, but structured that, so here's the core task. So write an introductory chapter titled Getting Started with B2B and D2C Commerce for a developer's guide, whose text is included in the attachment, this was a text file that we extracted out of a PDF of the guide. And because AI has a tendency to do that, we asked it specifically to not have a lot of meta text, text about this guide, right? And more content about what customers would need from these programmatic entities. Then we also gave it a sample guide, a guide called the Functions Guide in the Salesforce ecosystem, which customers actually have rated very highly. So it's a good example of a programmer's guide in our ecosystem. And then we gave it sort of a broad little TOC of what to cover. We said, cover the jobs to be done for customers, cover the overview of data models, cover extensibility and integration approaches, cover LWC and LWR customization processes, and also define these terms as you go for the first time. And then, if possible, write a real-life enterprise example of how customers can really integrate and implement all of this together. And what we got, it has gone through a few versions, but what we got was pretty interesting. It was pretty, I would say, fascinating to see. It really did a good job of parsing through the entire content, distilling the jobs to be done, distilling, what the data models did, and then it, defined Lightning Web components, Lightning Web runtimes, and how people can use it. But the real surprise was the real-life enterprise example, where it actually assumed an entire company of its own, and then talked about how that company could use the data models in their real-life use cases. For example, to manage their extensive range of products, right, for B2C and B2B and D2C customers, how they could integrate their order processing experience using Commerce Cloud programmatic entities, how they could customize using LWC. And this was really interesting, and we're still sort of absorbing this example. And go on, Stan.
Oh, no, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So I guess question, do finish, but the question is, did it come up with this example on its own?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, go on, please. That's amazing.
Yes. We did not define this company for them. We just asked for an example. It assumed a company of its own, and it did all of this together. See, it is not, it looks very, what do you say, ready, but it's not really 100% there, right? So there are things it assumes, and our DevDocs writer has had to work with it a lot, right? And really do it. So it's not that, anything that you generate with AI is 100% ready and production ready. For example, one of the things we saw was that AI tends to have a lot of meta text. This guide does this chapter does this, right? So we had to actually prompt it. If you look at it here, I had to prompt it to say, why does this text include a lot of meta text? So rewrite it without the meta text. So that's a follow-up prompt that we gave that led to the third version. So that way it's been a constant interaction, right, to and fro, and making it learn through the process. And if you look at this, a version 2, there's a version 3 with the follow-up prompt, without the follow-up prompt. So there's a lot of stuff here. And then Jody has been helping us, Jody Blyle from the Writer.ai pilot experiment. So this is where we got, and I thought, the real life example was pretty good. And our DevDocs lead, Shailendra, is working on cleaning this up, getting it right by our standards. And this is where we have gotten so far. We hope to, really just sort of clean this up, get it through editorial reviews, and then get it into our production guide in a couple of weeks. That's where we are.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. Make sure you trip that AI flag when it goes through editorial. So now question is, this was all done on the Writer.ai pilot?
Yes. So this is completely done there, right? But if you look at an earlier version, we also compared what Writer.ai did with what ChatGPT did. Because all the content that we were using as source or as a seed content was published, right? Yeah. But we saw that Writer.ai actually did a much better job of it, a more specific job of it. So we stuck to Writer.ai and continued working with it instead of going ChatGPT or Einstein way.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And last two questions are, is it okay if people have questions for them to reach out to you? Will that?
Absolutely. They could reach out to me and Shailendra Singh on my team. Both of us have been working on this. Yeah.
Awesome. And then final question is, you've got the interactions that you did, the various prompts and refine, which I think we all accept as part of what we have to do. Would you be willing to make a copy of this document so people could kind of go through it and look at it themselves?
Oh, of course. Okay. In fact, this is shared with all of Salesforce internally.
Oh, okay.
And I'll leave the link in the chat here, so feel free to share it with our, with our audience, with people viewing this, and we welcome feedback on this or anything that we might have missed in the prompt that could get it to a more generic form that could be applied to maybe any developer's guide or any guide and creating a overview, introductory why topic for that.
This is awesome. Look, Samartha is up late doing this and picked a very nice background. We worked on that before we started, which I think is great. So I cannot thank you enough. I think people are going to get a lot out of this. And this just hit like a lightning bolt in the workshop we did just a couple of days ago. And we wanted to kind of highlight this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Stan. Really happy to be here. Yeah.